May 21st, 2012 meeting of the Public Safety Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Antelli is excused. Chairman Hanna.
Here.
Mr. Willie Lightfoot. Mr. John Lightfoot. Mr. Michike. Mr. O'Brien. Dr. Quattro is excused. Mr. Rocco is excused. Mr. Yolovich.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum this evening?
There is not.
Is there anyone present who would like to address the committee this evening? Seeing none, we will move on. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the April 23rd, 2012 minutes before you. They'll stand approved unless the clerk is notified by the end of the day. Next item is a presentation by Paul Johnson, the Associate Planner of the Planning and Development Department. He will now give a brief overview of the 2013-2018 Capital Improvement Program as it pertains to the Public Safety Committee. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Everyone should have a copy of this document. The County Executive's proposed 2013 to 2018 Capital Improvement Program. We have followed the same process that we do every year in developing this program by soliciting project requests from departments in the fall. Those are reviewed internally, and a recommended program is put together for the county executive's consideration. Under the charter, the executive is required to submit that program to the Monroe County Planning Board for their review and consideration, which was done, and in the process of their review, they conducted 3 public information meetings and have forwarded it back to the county executive with their recommendation for approval. The executive now, in turn, is submitting it to the county legislature for your consideration. Under the charter, you are required to hold a public hearing, which hopefully you will schedule, and adopt this program in July as specified in the charter. I would point out that, as is the case in each capital program, that this is a plan for our capital improvements over the next 6 years. There are no funding approvals associated with your action on this program. That would come in its first opportunity in the capital budget, which is submitted to the legislature as part of the operating budget in November. And the bond resolutions for projects in that first year of the program would then be presented for your action and adoption. The one area or 2 areas of the program pardon me, that I'd like to briefly summarize for the committee are the sheriff's capital projects, which you would find on page 67 of the document. This program is pretty much similar to the adopted program. If you were to compare it, you would note a couple of changes. 2 projects, equipment related, have been removed from the program, and the Sheriff's Office anticipates finding other sources for funding of those 2 equipment purchases. And another change, which is really just a shift of a project from one area of the program to this area, and that would be the County Public Safety Building Reconstruction Project, which in last year's program you would have found in the facilities section. It is now more appropriately located in the Sheriff's program because the project is essentially for Sheriff's operations in that facility. The second area I would point out is on page 69, that being the public safety program. There are 2 projects here, both of which have appeared previously. The capital improvements to the Public Safety Training Center and to the 911 Public Safety Integrated System Management Upgrade and Enhancement Program. And I would also note that there have been some reductions in the funding for the Public Safety Training Center project to achieve an overall reduction of 10% for this program area. And that would conclude my presentation, Mr. Chairman. We'd be happy to entertain questions when this item is on the agenda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. Next item is new business. Madam Clerk.
Referral 12-173, authorize a
Moved by
contract.
Legislator Michike, seconded by Legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion this evening? Legislator John Lightfoot.
Chairman. Mr. Chairman, one of the questions that I have, Mr. Chairman, is in the second, in the second paragraph, it says that I recommend that your honorable body authorize a contract with the ACSA in the amount not to exceed $80,000 for the sheriff's office to conduct criminal background checks on potential employees of nursing homes, which are served by the SCSA. So it continues on with additional one-year renewable contracts. I guess my question to the administration through you, Mr. Chairman, is are we giving the $80,000 or are we receiving the $80,000?
Through the chair, we're receiving the funding. It funds one position in our records unit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any other discussion? Legislator Willie Lightfoot.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, have we entered into these type of contracts before for private entities, although this is a not-for-profit? To you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, this exact referral and contract has been in existence since 2008. I believe we enter into contracts with a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and a few other people. Do you want specific contracts?
No, I think you've answered my question. It was just simply, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, have we entered into these type of contracts before? And I think you said yes, is what I understood. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, item carries. Next item.
Referral 12-174, authorized.
Moved by legislator Yolovich, seconded by legislator Adair. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, item carries. Next item.
Referral 12-175, authorize an intermunicipal
Moved by legislator
agreement.
Adair, seconded by legislator Michikay. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, item carries. Next item.
Referral 12-190, 2013.
Moved by legislator Michikay, seconded by legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion? And before I take any discussion, I wanted to just verify with Mr. Johnson. Once again, I wanted to reiterate, this is a planning document, correct? And this has gone, all of these projects before us have gone before the planning board, as well as 3 meetings, public input meetings. We've had 3 meetings of the public that have input on all of these before they've gone before the planning board.
During their review, Mr. Chairman, the board conducted those 3 information meetings, yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion? Legislator O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And through you, with respect to the sheriff's portion on page 68 of the CIP, talks about the sheriff's shotgun and rifle replacement program for next year and just that year out of the total of 6 years. And through you, Mr. Chairman, I guess my question is, would I be right to believe that guns are replaced in an ongoing way with respect to kind of out of the operational budget? Is that true? And that this is a special kind of a one-time chunk of funding to deal with a specific rifle and shotgun situation? I just wanted to confirm if I'm right in understanding that through you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair, I believe their actual guns that they use every day was a CIP project back in 2006. So the rifle project, yes, this is a special one, but they do use them in training and in everyday purposes.
Thank you. And so, do we bond for all gun purchases, or are some of it do we purchase guns outside of the capital improvement program?
Through the chair, to my knowledge, we've bonded for every purchase of a gun.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't realize that. Thanks. I have nothing further. Oh, you know, actually, I do have one other question, if I might continue.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Just, you know, following up on some of Legislator Esposito's questions, which were interesting in planning and economic development, and I won't stray largely, but just by way of a hypothetical, I know that with respect to the MCC campus, there was some question about the language that was contained there, and if through Mr. Chairman, I could just ask, and maybe use a hypothetical to kind of to get an understanding of what we're actually doing today, because I understand that this is really a planning document, and but if, for example, I know that the speaker at public input prior had indicated that, for example, hypothetically, I suppose, the state may determine that they're going to provide funding for educational purposes. We may make a purchase that's larger than just for the educational component, and if it happened that somehow the state was only going to fund half as much, and I don't know, but can this document then be amended to reflect the changed circumstances, even to the extent that it might include a change of the ultimate siting of the facility? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
I would have to ask you, how does that question pertain to the public safety?
Well, because well, first of all, public safety has been one of the reasons that that has been advanced for purposes of selecting a particular site, but also I think there's so many components to it. Even the speaker talked about this separate utility. There's actually a separate utility system that services not only the part that could potentially be used for a MCC facility, but also CareStream, and I think also the additional. And it may be, and I don't know the answer to this, and nor am I saying that we need to necessarily debate those questions now. But my understanding is that unless the college or somebody was an actual public utility, they can't sell utilities to. And the whole question of utilities would seem to relate to public safety, in that we would then apparently have the obligation of making sure that those facilities are maintained, and if we weren't able to, it could be a problem.
That's a stretch.
That's a real stretch. I'm afraid that at this point, Mr. O'Brien,
it may be a stretch with respect to how it
really
relates to public safety. Okay. I guess my question is, to what extent is this, when we talk about, we have language in this document, and presumably we're adopting the whole CIP, and there may be some language that would be inconsistent with what some of us believe it means.
This evening, what we're doing is we're adopting what as it pertains to the public safety. This is what our committee is in charge of, and as I see it, our committee does not oversee MCC, and it does not oversee anything to do with MCC in this document this evening. So I'm going to have to say no. I'm not going to require the administration to answer your question.
Okay, just one other question, just procedurally. Is it your belief that if the lead agency passes, or the lead committee passes the referral as they did tonight, as not being the lead committee, are we no longer in a position to offer amendments?
We cannot offer amendments.
Okay, I understand. But for the same reasons that I think, in my view, when we vote on the CIP, we vote on the entire document. And for the reasons expressed at Planning and Economic Development, I will be voting no, because I think it could be, I am disappointed that the amendment didn't pass, because I do believe that it's very, very important to fund a renovated, updated, and very vibrant MCC campus, but because this document doesn't say it exactly what I believe we intend here tonight, I'll be voting no.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
4-3. Motion passes.
Motion passes 4-3. Thank you. Is there any other unfinished business to come before this committee? I'm sorry. Seeing none, the May 21st, 2012 meeting of the Public Safety Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Public Safety Committee will be held on June 25th, 2012 at 6 p.m.